One of the fun stories I have is that the group I was with when we were doing costume work. Um, we were with Xavier Woods at Universal Studios, and it was at the time where they were closing down Universal to change into Halloween Horror Nights. So they made you leave the park for an hour while they changed over, and then you got to go back in. So we're standing there, we're but trying to think of getting something to eat while we're waiting. This kid walks by, and he's texting on his phone, and he has a New Day shirt on. Xavier Woods is pictured on his shirt, and he's texting away. And Xavier Woods walks up to him, and he goes, "Hey man, nice shirt," and hits the kid on the shoulder. The kid didn't even look up, and he was just like, "Hey, thanks, man," and then just keeps on walking through. And we're dying laughing at this point in time because we're like, get off your phone.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, he's right there. The guy on your shirt is standing right there, just being like, "Hey man, nice shirt." And we said that knowing well that he wasn't the only wrestler in the park that day. They're based out of the Orlando area. Most of them live in Orlando, Tampa-ish area, because that's where Full Sail University is and where they do NXT and the Performance Center. It's where all that is. But yeah, so like there was probably I think 7 or 8 wrestlers that were at the park that day for Halloween Horror Nights, and I was like, this kid's got to pay attention. He never knew that's who it was. Like, he just was like, I got a compliment on my shirt today, and I was like, by who? I was like, I don't know, some guy. It was like, yeah, the guy that was on your shirt complimented you on your shirt. But yeah, I've it's been an interesting journey, and that's probably one of the most unique is being a professional wrestler. And I'm trying to get back into it, and hopefully that goes well.
So with the costume work, how did you even get into creating costumes for people?
So that as all stories that either me or you have, most of them go back to Pirates Voyage. When I started in Pirates Voyage, I started in 2014. Just a kid essentially fresh out of college, not really having a direction of where to go. So I just got on at Pirates Voyage, was trained by my brother to both serve and to bev, and didn't really know what to do. So I was just at Pirates Voyage, and the camaraderie that we create at Pirates Voyage with just who we meet and the odd people that are different aspects of their life, different aspects of ours, that we all come together from a range of 19 to 55 years old, where you just find these just random odd people that just you just coincide with. So I met a guy at Pirates Voyage. He was a theater graduate from Coastal Carolina University. He was a former professional wrestler. He built costumes, went to cosplay conventions, and was a superhero nerd. And I really wasn't at the time. I knew about superheroes, and I had my favorite, which was Superman at the time. It still is today. But so he was in my bev station, or I think I was in his bev station one day, and we just kind of hit it off, got to talking about it, and we talked about wrestling, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I actually did professional wrestling," and he was like, "Oh okay." I was like, "Did you ever make it?" And he was like, "Yeah, I was on TV for a little while for TNA." And I was like, "Hey, that's awesome. Most people don't even make it on TV. Most people just do their show in, a small town for the rest of their life, and then go on about their day." And then brought me in to see what all that he did, and was like, "Hey, I build costumes and go to conventions dressed as all these comic book people or these cartoon characters or whatever." And I was like, "That sounds great." And he was like, "Yeah," he's like, "Just come to one if you want to." And so he invited me to one, and I learned how seriously that they take it. Because I was just like, I'll just order like a pair of pants and just go be like, "Hey, I'm a pants guy," or whatever. That's not a real person. Don't take that as a real person. Yeah. So I went to that, and then I saw like, oh, they get serious about this, and they make stuff like this. And I went into it not thinking it could go anywhere, just thinking that I get to have I get to go on vacation a lot. I get to have fun. I get to dress up as all these different characters, and just learn like weird things about how to make stuff. And I never thought it would actually take me anywhere. And next thing I know, I got a I'm a small part of a special on the WWE Network, uh, that's called New Day's Fantastic Ride, where they hosted WrestleMania dressed as Final Fantasy characters. If the New Day had Final Fantasy characters, so we made and we're on there making their stuff, and they interview us and talk about how how these guys are and who they are, and the collaboration with wrestling and video games, which is something that Xavier Woods has been able to bring to a spotlight, which with his YouTube channel, which is terrific to be able to merge those two worlds together. Um, yeah, so I never thought it would actually like go anywhere or build anywhere, but now I have a absolutely ridiculous wardrobe because I know where to find things, and if I need something, I can make something if need be. Um, I just went to a convention in Raleigh dressed as Gambit, and it was before I saw Deadpool and Wolverine, so I didn't know that it was going to be a huge deal that I was Gambit. Um, because I kind of heard that he was going to make a cameo in it, but I didn't think his cameo was going to take off the way that it did. So I was just kind of like, oh, I'll be Gambit, it'll be all right. And then like I get there and I'm one of two Gambits, and like everybody's just like, oh man, loved you in it, loved you in Deadpool over. It's like, hey, no spoilers, I haven't seen it yet. And I went to see it like the next week, but I didn't care. But I was like, hey, that's it's good to get pointed out, and it's a good world. It's a good world to get in, just because it's a little bit of an escape because you can dress up as a character, you can be a character, and if you go to one of these conventions, I love Dragon Con in Atlanta. Um, you will get the opportunity, which is one of the greatest things and one of the biggest payoffs, is that you've spent 3 months, 4 months, 5 months working on an individual costume, and then you put it on and wear it. You're looking good. You got everything working. You're strutting down the sidewalk because you're a different character. And then just to have a bunch of random people just go, oh man, and just yell your character name at you. It seems weird just to randomly get things yelled at you, but like it's the closest form of being catcalled as a male that we'll get to have. Just to walk by, like, because I did a Zangief costume from Street Fighter, and just be like, Zangief, what are you doing? And I was just like, just to everybody that passed by, just because they were just like, hey, he made a Zangief costume. And then they saw the rest of our group dressed as the rest of the cast of Street Fighter, and they were like, oh man, they're all Street Fighter. So it's always fun to go. It's always fun to have a group that goes, and just have a creative side, just because like it's how you also view the character as well. So you put your own twist, your own spins, your own like little individual quirks into each thing, and that's always a great time. And what I learned the most of off of him and him off of me is that he was a theater major, so he had done theater work both on stage and backstage, and helping with that. So he knew the seamstress side, and he knew how to construct things and build things. And I'd grown up with sports, so I'd known all the sports things. So I was like, hey, you don't have to make this whole thing. You can just order like lacrosse shoulder pads, and it'll be the exact same thing. And kind of helped get that process a little bit more streamlined for him, and um, kind of help build off of each other. And we've built a few things. None of the things that I built ever made it on TV. I hate that none of the things in the New Day special, I was building microphone holders for the New Day. That got cut before it went out. Um, I helped build some wings for Becky Lynch. They got nixed before they went out. I built some shoulder armor for the Ascension. It got nixed before it went out. I was just like, is there anything I'm going to make that's going to make it on TV? Just so I can take a picture of it and be like, hey, I made that. But I mean, it's a fun process nonetheless, because you get a bunch of things that you get to see, you get to meet people, and you get to go to all these conventions, which all of them are individual and weird and unique and awesome and in their own way. And have your fun with it. And as an adult, like one of the most fun that I had with it was that we spent 1 year trying to figure out how we could build flasks into our costumes. So that way it'd be like we don't have to go up to our room to get a drink. We can just be like, hey, just patch back onto the costume. It'd be like, wait, is a knee pad a flask? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, that's awesome. And I was like, it sure is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fire.
Mm-hmm.
That's fire. That's fire. That's dope, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up, I'm pretty sure everybody watched wrestling. I know I watch wrestling. So to hear that from the other side,
sure,
I feel like that's dope. I feel like that's some dope content, bro.
Yeah, and most of those guys, they love it as well. And to hear some of them like be able to like get excited for things that we build, like because it was our team, and then it was another team that built their gear, because that team usually always builds their gear, and that's Main Event Gear. They do great work. If look them up, nice little plug for them. But they make wrestling gear as far as their tights and their pants and the kimonos and stuff like that. But they didn't know how to make like armor pieces and shoulder pieces and weaponry. So that's why they called us in for. So we're making that, and like we made a sword and shoulder pads and a handful of other things. And we also helped make the. If you ever watched the New Day on the Monday after WrestleMania, they came out with a giant cereal box of Bootios, and it shot Bootios into the air. We made that cereal box. We made that cereal box. We made the shoulder pads and everything they came out with. I had a small part in that, and I'm grateful to have that small part in that, because that was a lot of fun to both get to meet all the guys and get to see who they are outside of character, because you see their character on the screen, and most of the time if you see them, they have to be their character also in public. So if they're a bad guy, they're essentially a bad guy also in public. But to see kind of behind the scenes of some of these guys, you get to see, I was like, oh, they're just regular individuals just like we are. They're just they're nerdy too. They like Final Fantasy. They like playing video games and stuff like that. So it's a good time to be able to see like, oh, okay. They it's like they're weird like me also. It's like that's pretty neat.